Hey folks, welcome back to the Farm Kitchen at Maple Lawn Farm. This evidently is not my day to make videos because we are now on take 3 of this particular phase of making butter. If you did not see my first video, you'll want to check that out, where I give you some tips and some hints on the correct temperature for your cream so that you will have the most success in making your butter. At this point, I have churned my cream and my butter is sitting up on top here. And there's just not a whole lot to talk about with the process of actually churning it. I use an electric churn, so it does all the work for me. Of course, if you're doing it manually, then that's a little bit different. But still, it's just the process of agitating the cream which causes it to separate. So we have done that. My yellow butter is sitting up on top, and it is ready to separate and ready to rinse. In the winter, your butter is going to have a lighter color. In the springtime, you're going to have this beautiful yellow butter that comes from the cows eating the green spring grass, which is just lovely. There's just nothing like spring butter. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this and I'm going to pour it into my strainer. I have these stainless steel bowls underneath to catch the milk that is separated. I could take that milk and put it in a pot and use it to make feta cheese, yogurt, or cottage cheese. Again, if you haven't seen the cottage cheese videos and you're interested in making cottage cheese, jump back and look for those on our Facebook page. And I think you'll be able to successfully make cottage cheese once you watch those videos. But what I'm going to do with this today is I'm going to take this and I'm going to just discard it and give it to my chickens and give it to my pigs, who absolutely love it. I've just got an abundance of milk, and we actually bought the pigs to have an outlet for the extra milk when I didn't need to make cheese. I love nothing more than making cheese every day, but I've got to do other things, especially in the summertime. I have to be available for other things rather than just making cheese. So by having the pigs, we can just feed the excess to them, and the chickens love it too. So I'm going to go ahead and separate this now, and it is quite heavy. So I'm going to pour it in here and get all those wonderful splatters that I'm always talking about. My kitchen is always covered in milk splatters. So, and I'm going to move this over here and put the rest of it in. Now sometimes, especially with these big strainers like this, you'll have a little bit of the butter go through. You could put like a cheesecloth or a flour sack type cloth in there and strain through that, but then you've got the mess on the cloth, and I just don't do that. I'm going to remove my rings because I'm going to be getting my hands in this in a minute, and it's just always better to remove your jewelry. So I have my butter here. Still got some milk in it there. Now, if some of your butter has gone through the strainer, you can kind of just use your clean hands and gather up that butter that's on the top and lay that back over here. That's what I do. I'm very blessed to have an abundance of milk, and I don't run short. So if a little bit of my butter flakes get down there in the milk that's going out to the chickens, that's okay. Got most of it. I'm going to set this out of the way so that we can rinse the butter. All right, so there's our butter, and we are simply going to get everything out of the way here so that I can rinse. I'm going to make sure that my water coming out is very cold before I begin rinsing, because if you make the mistake of starting your water and it's warm or hot, then it's just going to melt your butter. It's just going to go right on out of there, out of the bottom of your strainer. But I get it really cold, and then I bring it over here. And a key to making delicious butter is the rinsing. And I mean, there's various ways that you can rinse, but the best way that I have found is simply get your hands in there and get them dirty. Um, so I've got my butter in here, and I'm just running this very cold water over it. And you can see as I begin to run the water over it, it comes together and becomes a big clump of butter like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just taking my hand and I'm breaking it up and rinsing. Just letting that water run over it and rinse it. Now, if it's an issue for you to run water like this, I know some of you live in areas, dry climates, you have wells that have to be conserved. You have to conserve your water. That is not an issue here. We have an abundance of water. But if that is the case, then you can put your butter down in a bowl and fill it with water and work your butter in that bowl, and then pour the water off and put some fresh water on there until your water comes clear. But for me, this is absolutely the best way to get my butter rinsed. And you just want to keep rinsing until the water that is coming off of there is clear. You don't want to have any milk left in there. That is such a key part of making butter, because you can have all this beautiful butter, and if you don't get the milk out of there, then it's just going to spoil the butter. The butter's going to go rancid on you. And this is sweet cream butter that I'm making. Back in the old days, a lot of people made clabbered butter, and some people still do. Some people enjoy that clabbered butter with a more of a sour taste to it. It is a probiotic when you allow it to clabber in that manner, but we prefer the sweet cream butter. So I've got my butter rinsed. I'm going to turn this off. I'll show you. There's my big ball of butter here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work a little bit of that water out of my butter. And again, you know, folks used to use butter paddles, so they didn't have to get their hands down in there. But for me, I have found that the best way to do this is just to wash up really well before you begin, and then just get your hands in there and just do it. So once you've worked out some of that water, I need to rinse my hands off here in warm water, get the greasy fingers taken care of. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to salt this butter, and that is also an important step. Now, occasionally I will make butter without salt for baking, because you have some recipes that call for unsalted butter, and I just mark my bags so that I know which butter is unsalted. But if you really want that wonderful flavor from your butter, then you've got to salt it. With all of your dairy products that you make, it takes them from fair to excellent when you add the right amount of salt to bring out the flavor. So let me grab my salt. And I keep my salt in a tightly in a jar here, because we have such humidity here that my salt goes to clumps if I don't. And for butter, you can use iodized salt. For some of your aged cheese, or for all of your aged cheeses, you cannot have any iodine in your salt. But this is just regular table salt with iodine in it, which you can use. And I just, you know, sprinkle a little bit on there on this side. There, it's finally coming out. And then I sprinkle a little bit on the other side. And then I just begin to work that in with my hands, working that salt through the butter, working it through. Not only helps to eliminate more of the water that's in there, or any of the milk that might be remaining in there, but it also helps to distribute that salt throughout your butter to give you a nice even taste throughout. So you'll get to where you pretty much know how much salt to add for your taste, but you know, you might want to taste a little bit of it to see if it's salted the way you like it. If it's not, add some more salt, but start out lightly, and you can always add, of course, but you can't take it away once it's in there. All right, so I've got it salted, and I've got a lot of the water worked out of there, and it is looking good. So my next step, again, I'm going to rinse this off so that my hands aren't greasy. And I'm going to get my salt out of the way. And this is where, if you had a mold and you wanted to use a mold, you'd put your butter in your mold at this point. I do not use a butter mold. I make butter balls. And I have several vintage butter dishes that are the round type that my butter balls fit in quite nicely. And I just make a nice round butter ball like this. And when you've done it, you know, over time, you can pretty much gauge what size you want to make them. You can make them smaller if you don't go through a lot of butter, or you can make them larger if you do. And then what I do with these after I have them formed is I will take this dish, this plate of butter, and I will set it in the refrigerator and allow it to solidify. And then I will put these in Ziploc bags, and I'll store them in the freezer. I'll put the date on them, and I will store them in the freezer. And then as I need them, I will get them out. I usually grab a butter ball the day before I think I'm going to run out, and I leave it set out. We like to leave our butter set out on the table so that it's soft. And as long as you've got it rinsed and salted really well, and salted, it keeps fairly well just out on the table. In the wintertime, you know, it'll last for several days on the table without getting strong. In the summertime, when it's warmer in our house, it might just be 24 hours that we can leave it set out. But that's how we do it. So there you go. There are our beautiful butter balls that we made. So that's it. If you have any questions, you can leave me the questions in the comments, and I will try to get to them and answer them for you. I hope that this video has helped you in some way, given you some ideas, and helped you in your dairy journey as you try to figure out what to do with all that wonderful milk. So I hope you'll come back again and see us.